All right, welcome back. We are live on Radio Row, as we've been all week here in Miami. Super Bowl 54 is Sunday right here on 97.3 ESPN. Westwood One's coverage on 97.3 starts at 5. And one of the voices that you will hear as part of that coverage on 97.3 is the great Tony Boselli, and he joins us now here on Radio Row. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. And just before you jumped on, you said you'll be heading to Atlantic City soon.
Yeah, not super soon, but sometime in May.
It happens fast, man.
Oh, well, by the way, I always say this, and I got 5 kids, and so I tell my wife, as soon as the Super Bowl is over, I said, all right, get ready. Christmas is right around the corner. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, because it goes like that.
It really does.
I mean, because the off season now, you're always busy. You have stuff going on, and you're enjoying it and trying to take some, breather time. And then as soon as the season, like August comes, like next thing you know, we're at the Super Bowl. I mean, like I can't even believe that the season's already over. I'm like, what?
This happens.
There's gonna be no football after Sunday.
Yeah. Well, this happens, and then it's like the draft, and then mini camps. You guys.
A year. I mean, I'm getting old really fast, and like next thing I know, it's like gonna be all over. So
well, and you talk about now. The Super Bowl's in February. They got the draft comes up, and then these mini camps. It feels like a year round. Was it like that?
No,
even when you were playing, which wasn't that long ago.
I don't remember it being like this, but you're right. So you got the Super Bowl now. The Combine's the end of February, so like you have 2 major events, and you have free agency open in like beginning of March. So I'll get busy all then. Then you have all like 8 million, mock drafts. Like everyone has like mock draft 8.1, mock draft 7.5. I mean, you have all these mock drafts. You have the draft in April, which is going to be in Vegas, which is going to be nuts.
And
then you have mini camps and all that stuff. And then you get like a breather in like end of June to mid-July. You have like 30 days where like there's nothing really happening unless some player does something stupid, which you hope doesn't happen. And
that will only happen here.
Yeah.
This town will have that happen.
Only in South Beach,
Yeah,
right?
South Beach, a lot of stuff does happen here in South Beach.
Too.
Vegas, South
too.
Beach. But South Beach is probably more popular. And then you start training camp, and it's
off we go
it's
again.
like an 11-month, like you get a break for 30 days.
I want to ask you this because Emmitt Smith is right here. The all-time leading rusher is sitting right here. That guy doesn't exist anymore, does he? Like, you look at these two teams, they run, the 49ers will run, but they don't. This guy here doesn't exist in today's game, really.
Well, like it's running back by committee by most places, but like if Tennessee would have beaten Kansas City, we'd be saying that guy does exist, Derrick Henry. I mean, here's a guy that is like carries the load for their team.
But do you
but
think
there's
that's
very
sustainable?
few to certain guys. Like I think Derrick Henry's built to do this for a while. Like I'm not saying he's gonna break Emmitt's record or anything. I mean, that was a different style of game, the way the game was approached and the rules of the game and everything else. I mean, part of what we've seen going to more of this passing attack and for the majority of the NFL is the fact the rules have been set up to do that. And that's why you see these huge quarterback numbers and receiver numbers and everything else. But, you look at the 49ers, they run it more than they pass it, and they're in the Super Bowl. Tennessee Titans were another team. They have a big back. They run the ball. They're in the championship game. And so I don't think it's dead. Do I think we'll see anyone break Emmitt Smith's record? Probably not because of the style of the game. But there's still going to be teams that are going to say, hey, we got the dude in the backfield, and we're going to run this dude, and he's going to carry us to win football games.
Yeah. I saw in the pool report yesterday, we talked to Laura Oakman, who was at the practice.
Yeah.
You were at the Chiefs practice yesterday. It was interesting listening to her talk about how you get a feel when you're around these teams for where they're at. Mm-hmm. What kind of feel did you get from the Chiefs as far as how they're embracing all this and how they're handling it?
They're loose. They are ready to go. I mean, I think they are very confident. I think they're approaching this, obviously it's the Super Bowl, but I didn't sense like, oh gosh, there's a tightness, let's do anything different. They have their same schedule, they have the same process they're going through like they would any other game, and they had the music going, they were dancing, they were singing, and they were cruising around out there. So that's a team, and I'm going to go to the 49ers this afternoon. We'll see what they're doing, but I think the one adjective I've used, very loose, very confident. I guess that's 2 adjectives, but who's counting? But it was good to be out there.
We, those Jacksonville teams that you played on were close.
Yeah.
And when you see these teams in the Super Bowl and think back to your teams, what lacks from a team? Is it something that's missing, or it's just it wasn't our year, or what? When you look back at those Jacksonville teams and think, because look, the Eagles, where we are, They had all those years where they just came up short, and Andy finally got him to the Super Bowl. They couldn't win it. Now he's back. But they never got it done with those Eagles teams. And everyone's always trying to figure what was missing from those Eagles teams. And I wonder if there's something missing from your Jacksonville teams that might resonate with the Eagles fans.
You know, I don't think it's ever one thing. I mean, I think when you get to the upper echelon and you're in the playoffs and you're in those championship games, I think it's so close. It's making a play here. It's a turnover. It's just, you know, I don't like say, oh, if we just had this, or if we'd have done this better. I mean, obviously you want to improve, and there's areas of the game that you could see, hey, if we'd have been a little better here, fine. But I think the teams are so close.
Is that on that day or big picture? Because I feel like in today's NFL, we have these debates, like the Eagles lose to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
They're just terrible. They stink. Well, no, you lost one game on one day against a bad team. It can be an ugly loss, but you're not a bad team because of it. So is it on that day you were missing something, or is it over the 16-game spectrum?
Well, I think if you get to the AFC Championship or NFC Championship game, you're not missing much over a 16 big picture thing. So I think it's like that game. Sometimes it's a matchup. Sometimes just how teams match up against each other can change things. And it's interesting because we live with social media, Twitter, and everything else. It's like we make declarations about a team like immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, they lost that game. They are the worst team ever. They won. Oh my gosh, they're like one of the greatest teams in the history. I mean, we go back and forth. We're like bipolar when it comes to like how we feel about our teams and how we cover them. So, but I think, you know, going back to as you look at how teams go and who wins and who doesn't in the big games, I think it's matchups a lot of times. I'll go back to the AFC Championship game. I think it's a completely different game. I'm not saying Tennessee wins. If Rashad Evans tackles Mahomes at the end of the first half and forces a field goal, it's 17-17.
Right.
And it doesn't feel like Kansas City has the lead. They've scored 14 unanswered. They're rolling. And I think it feels different the second half. And maybe Tennessee doesn't abandon the run because they feel like the game's getting out of control. So it can literally come down to a play or two that flip how a game goes and how it feels.
Give me something in this game on Sunday that's not being talked about a lot, that you're saying, wait a second here. Let's talk about this guy, or let's talk about the defensive line, whatever it is.
Yeah, I think that's hard in the Super Bowl because we
two very good teams.
Well, no, we overcover it. So, like, we've been doing this. Here's the thing. We've been doing this for 2 weeks now. It ramped up Monday night at media night. And look at Radio Row. There's like every station from every market. And we're all figuring out what do we talk about for.
Yeah, we know everyone's middle name, their horoscope sign.
Everyone's selling something now. We know everything about it. So,
sure.
But I'll say the key, and I'm sure other people are talking about it, I think it's the defensive line of the 49ers against the offensive line of the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And if you want to boil it down, Nick Bosa against Eric Fisher. I mean, if you really want to get down to like the nitty-gritty, but I think it's that those four guys against those five guys, they're going to go a long way in determining this football game.
How about you personally? I mean, you finalist for the Hall of Fame. You had a great career. You were dominant. It really brought a spotlight to a position that sometimes is overlooked, unfortunately. What's this been like to be that close to the Hall of Fame and know that, I mean, hopefully one day you do get that call.
Hopefully Saturday.
Yeah.
And no call, I want to knock because
you're here. Yeah.
Because you get a knock, you're in.
What's that like?
If you get a phone call, you're out.
Everybody listening, all of us here, like, we can't even imagine. I mean, what's that like when you go to bed that night?
It's stressful. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, there's anxiety because you have no control over the outcome. Like, I don't get to go play again. It's like, hey, let me go. Hey, any defensive ends here want to go out on the grass and like one-on-one and get all the Hall of Fame voters and see how good I am? I mean, it wouldn't go very well either, by the way. So you don't get into that. So there's anxiety. You're waiting. You're hoping because that's the greatest honor you can get as an individual honor.
Yeah.
Super Bowl is the greatest team honor, but the greatest individual honor is making it to the Hall of Fame.
Do you let yourself think about what that moment would be like?
You know, I do, and I do from the sense of, like, I'm trying to be positive and believe that it's going to happen, so you try to visualize, like, you know, and see the knock on the door and all that stuff, but I can't. I was talking to John Lynch about this, because he's a finalist as well, and we've been finalists. He's been a finalist 7 years. I've been a finalist 4 years, so the last 4 years, and we've known each other for 30-plus years. And we were talking about it, and he says, you know, it's like having a kid. Like, everyone says, like, having a kid is like the greatest, it's emotional, but you really don't know what it's going to feel like until you have a kid.
Yeah.
Like, someone can explain it and they can tell you, but like for you,
That's a good analogy.
And so it's the same. Like, I don't know what I'll feel. because until it happens, it's like one of those life-changing moments that only, you only understand it when it happens. So,
right.
I don't know what I'm going to be feeling, to be honest with you.
It would be kind of an interesting, like, top of the pinnacle because, you're at USC, which is like the top of the mountain in college football, to being the first pick ever for a team that never existed. Validating that they took me, this team didn't exist, and I became a Hall of Fame player, from a team that was not even there, which is kind of a cool ending, right?
What a story.
That would be fun. That'd be really cool. So it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what it feels
I
like.
don't want to get your hopes up, but
no.
I have information. No.
I like it. Tell me. I know what it feels like. Keep on knocking.
Yep. Well, and you saw,
I know what it feels like not to make it.
Yeah.
That's a crappy feeling, so I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to this. It's like, people are like, well, when you have, are you going to, I remember they used to ask me, I have 5 kids now, before my first one, do you think you'll cry when you're going to have your kid? I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I have no idea.
Maybe.
Now, I did. Which is a miracle in itself because I can count on one hand, but I'm not the most emotional person. So that feeling and what it means, and like what you just said about the whole, kind of arc of the narrative, my story of SC, and everything else. Like
and you saw that. You see the high.
It's like amazing. I don't even know.
Like the high and low, though. Like we're in Philly, and Harold Carmichael gets the call.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And he's like, and then on the flip side, you got Drew Pearson, who's just like crushed. And these are guys in their 60s now that are like still like, oh my God.
Well, just think about it. It's a validation. It's a declaration of what you were as a player.
Yeah.
And for all of us, it was our careers and what we did on the field. It was our identity, and it was important to us. And so when some outside entity comes in and says you're the greatest at whatever you ever did, you're part of that group. Mm-hmm. It's like it's validation.
It's sort of like I've never played in the NFL. I don't know, but how I'm just processing all of it, it's sort of like taking, let's say, the SAT, and you're waiting for the scores.
Yeah.
Right? Like right now, you're just waiting for the results.
Yeah,
Are the results in? Right?
Is it good enough?
Pass,
or not?
fail.
Yeah.
It's
so
crazy.
I understand how Drew in there. I don't understand how Harold feels. I hope I understand Saturday night.
Well, I can tell you, I'm 43. And if someone asked me to start rattling off offensive lineman's name, I would certainly say Tony Boselli. Like that would be because of me kind of covering football. So I would anticipate being ready for a knock or a call.
No call. Knock. Stop saying call. I'm going to come across. Knock.
He's 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first-team All-Pro, and he'll be with Westwood One's coverage of the Super Bowl, which we'll have on 97.3 ESPN on Thursday. Right now, where we stand, are you figuring that one team right now has something a little more than the next?
Like I've been saying all week, it's a coin flip. So if it goes heads, it's Kansas City, tails, 49ers. That's why I'm judging it right now. And when a game's that close in my mind, I lean towards the better quarterback. And I'm nothing away from Jimmy Garoppolo, very good player. But in my opinion, Mahomes is the best quarterback in the NFL. And so I'll lean towards the Chiefs.
All right, he's Tony Boselli, and he was kind enough to join us here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline, live on set here at Radio Row in Miami. Tony, great to see you, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Atlantic
awesome,
City
man.
when you're
I'm
there.
looking forward to it. I've never been to Atlantic City, so this will be a first.
Always black.
Yeah.
Bet black.
Bet black, okay.
There you go.
All right, good.
Tony Boselli, everybody, here on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. We're back with plenty more live on Radio Row in Miami.